You're listening to the Third Down Squad podcast, the best international news podcast for the National Football League. We're your hosts, Derek, Josh, and Toby. Let's get you ready for a new set of downs on Sunday.
And welcome back, guys. It's the third episode of the Third Down Squad. It's week 11 for the 2018 NFL season. Again, the hosts, top left corner Josh, top right corner Derek, and down here it's me, Toby. And of course, we're going to start off with a quick recap of last week. Our predictions weren't that good. I mean, we thought there were a couple of clear games in there, but a lot of upsets last week in the NFL. Especially, I was really shocked about that game between Tampa Bay and the Washington Redskins. I mean, I picked the Washington Redskins, but that score 16-3. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
Even with Ryan Fitzpatrick almost throwing for 500 yards, or the entire offense being at 500 yards for Tampa Bay, and they can't make any more points than 3. There's something wrong there.
Yeah. I mean, you're right, Toby. This week was definitely tough for everybody. We had the Patriots getting blown out by Tennessee. Not good if you're a Colts fan like Josh and I. Obviously, we all picked the Falcons to beat the Browns, even after the Browns having a phenomenal day against the Falcons. The Jets got blown out by Buffalo. Absolutely insane. That happened. You and I, Toby, were high on Josh McCown this week. That just didn't happen. And we obviously all picked the Eagles, and they're struggling right now. We will talk about that a little bit later on tonight.
Yeah.
Josh was the only one that picked the Giants to win last night's game, so congratulations, Josh.
Thank you.
And real quick, before we get to you guys on your recap to this, I wanted to give a few shout-outs to some people first.
All right.
Shout out to Drew Brees. First off, Drew Brees passing Brett Favre for the second most touchdown passes in a career, on his way to passing Peyton Manning. Fitzgerald, congratulations on being now the second highest in catches in a career, passing Terrell Owens, the guy that practically reinvented how to catch the ball one-handed, especially for today's modern era. You have Andrew Luck, who is now in a stat with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning as the only quarterbacks to have 6 consecutive games of 3+ touchdowns. So anyone who is now an Andrew Luck hater just needs to go into hiding, needs to run away. You don't know football. And also, I know that Toby and I were on Twitter a lot this week. We're hoping that we get a good crowd this week. My friend Luke, who does the For the Culture podcast, anyone who watches this, be sure to check out his channel on YouTube. He runs a podcast for the Colts. He does a phenomenal job. Luke, I hope you enjoy the content we bring you here today. Guys, on to you.
Yeah, Josh, you want to do your recap, or should I just go?
Yeah, I'll start with my recap. I mean, from what I saw is that everything that you thought wouldn't happen, happened this week. I mean, who thought the Titans would, blow out the Patriots 36-10?
It was 34-10, I think. Yeah, 34-10.
Yeah,
everybody thought it would be the other way around. But here, Malcolm Butler, I guess he finally got his revenge, even though I don't think he really did much because I never caught the game. But also, I mean, we all thought the Eagles were going to win, like you said, because they have the superior offense. But somehow Dallas managed to take advantage of their miscues on defense. It just happened to hold Carson Wentz to a pretty low amount of statistics, in my opinion.
Yeah, Carson Wentz didn't look good in the first half. I think the Eagles only had 3 points at halftime. And Dallas was already up by 13 points at half. I think they had 16, if I'm correct.
I believe so, yeah.
Dallas actually looked really good in that game. They looked good. They had a good offense going. I think they finally figured out how they want to use Amari Cooper. Of course, they didn't really know how to use him against the game against Tennessee in Week 9 when they just got him. But he looked pretty good as their primary target in this game. And the Eagles really struggled in the first half there with Carson Wentz not really getting hot. on offense, and of course the Eagles defense, they just look really bad. They don't look like the team they were last year when they won the Super Bowl. And I think
Right.
one of the reasons is the offensive line for the Eagles. They don't have a running game anymore. So, and there's a lot of pressure on Carson Wentz right now. So he doesn't have the time in the pocket to look around to find his targets. And I think that's one of the main reasons for Philadelphia, that they are actually on 4-5 right now, and not like last year where they were still unbeaten, I think, in Week 10.
Yeah, they were 9-1 through their first 10
Or
games.
9-1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of reasons the Philadelphia Eagles have been struggling. We'll definitely talk about that since that's one of our topics for later in this podcast. But it does a lot have to do with their offense just not clicking on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Yeah, once they fix that offensive line, I think the Eagles would be the perfectly balanced team in the NFL with a great defense and finally have a great offense, because they have the weapons in Golden Tate and Alshon Jeffrey on the outside.
Yeah, they
and
definitely do, yeah.
Zach Ertz as the tight end and Ajayi as the running back. I mean, they got it there. They just need the offensive line. Heck, the Colts went through this like numerous times. They had all the weapons. They just didn't have the O-line to support it.
Yeah, right now they really don't have the offensive line there. And as you said, Josh, they would be a great team if they had the offensive line, and I think they would be the clear favorite in the NFC East right now. But the NFC East is kind of, you don't really know what's going on. All the teams are hot one week and really cold the next week. It's really anybody's division right now. I think even the Giants, if they come back like they did yesterday against the 49ers, even they have a chance to get the division title there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that covers the Eagles pretty good. And now I think we're gonna start off with the Colts again. Guys, your thoughts on the Colts last week?
Go ahead, Josh.
All I gotta say is that Quentin Nelson is a warrior and he has the battle cry to prove it. That's all I gotta say about the offense.
That's true, yeah.
As we have all seen from the video that was on there before,
He's all that I wanted in an offensive lineman, just one that just goes at the defensive players and doesn't, back off at them. Because by this time last year, I think Andrew Luck was still the most sacked quarterback in the league by miles. Yeah. But right now, I mean, they barely let him get touched anymore, which is what I like to see. They just, the Colts are trending in the right direction. If they win out, there's a chance they can grab that wild card spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll tell you this, guys. I am so excited after seeing that Colts game, as all of Colts Nation should be, tagging on to what Josh said, and shout out to Luke. I think you can agree with me on this. We got the best player of the draft this year. I don't think there's any debate about it anymore. A rookie guard is now being called one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL after only 10 games. It's fun to see this offensive line, what it is right now. The offensive line has only allowed 10 sacks. No sacks through 4 games. It's absolutely insane what they're doing right now. The Colts have 2 possible Pro Bowl O-linemen, Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson. Now, some of the others are in contention, but right now Ryan Kelly and Quentin Nelson are the best ones. These two have combined to only give up 1 sack throughout the whole year, and the quarterback is only pressured 6% of the time when one of those two is guarding somebody. It's absolutely insane, and the rest of the O-line is making a case for this being the second best offensive line in the NFL, and this is the best offensive line that we have had in over 10 years. It is absolutely insane what this offensive line is doing, and it is giving Andrew Luck the ability to be Andrew Luck. Eric Ebron, the addition of Eric Ebron paid off Sunday, and it has paid off this season. Now has 10 touchdowns on the year, which is the most in the NFL by far of any tight end. Yeah. And you have the tight end groups working together very well. the Colts don't even really have a main receiver at this point except for their tight ends. That's pretty much where their system runs through. And I know Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines and Jordan Wilkins didn't have the greatest day running yesterday, but there were still a few times where that offensive line, and especially when you saw Quentin Nelson pulling and killing Barry Church coming across the middle, that was insane. I'm telling you, man, the Colts have the best tight end group in the NFL. They have backs that are improving. And the only issue right now is the defense. The defense is struggling a little bit right now, but I could still make the argument this could be, if not the best the Colts have been since Andrew Luck has gotten here, probably the second best year since Andrew Luck has gotten here. They're not great, but they're good enough that they're not losing games at the moment. They almost lost that game yesterday, but it was difficult, but they ended up surviving off of that fumble. And I know that a lot of Colts fans will say, oh, it's because the offense didn't get going, the defense struggled. What's up with all that? Well, in the second half, I listened to Luke's podcast. He mentioned this. The first 8.5 minutes, the Jaguars had possession of the ball for the first 8.5 minutes of that third quarter. And then the Colts had a minute and a half and went 3 and out. And then the Jaguars went on another 5-minute drive.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot on you when your offense was dominating in the first half because the defense was getting tired. And in the second half, since the defense wasn't tired and the offense wasn't getting on the field, it was difficult for the Colts to really do anything. But the great thing is the Colts are in a perfect position for a playoff push. Almost everything that we needed to have happened happened this week. The Bengals lost big time to the Saints, as I'm sure Toby will mention here in a minute. The Dolphins lost to the Packers, which is exactly what we needed. They moved to 5-5. The Ravens did not play. They have the same record as us as 4-5. And the Titans, if they had lost, would have put us in the perfect position for this week. If the Colts win this game against the Titans, which I believe they will this week because I had to look this stat up. The Titans have not beaten the Colts while Andrew Luck has been the starter. They haven't beaten them yet. So I can't remember how many games that is now. It's maybe 10 to 12 games in a row that Andrew Luck has beaten the Tennessee Titans. If we beat the Titans, we take second position in the AFC South, and we maintain a 4-way tie, possibly, for the last AFC wildcard spot. I'm super excited that the Colts are having the possibility to do so. And the schedule in the offense is playing exactly the way we need to right now in order to make that push.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Toby. I think that obviously the Saints had themselves quite the week. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that?
Well, of course, that big game for the Saints in Cincinnati. I mean, everybody knew that the Saints probably will win this game with the Cincinnati Bengals being without A.J. Green at the moment, without their main target. But I think nobody expected them to blow them out like they did. I mean, the Bengals only really got 7 points on the board against the starters. Yeah, they got a second touchdown in the fourth quarter against the backup defense in there. But, I mean, the Saints were just coming out and dominating the whole game. Drew Brees was perfect again. 3 touchdown passes, a touchdown run. And, I mean, his completion percentage in that game was just off the charts again. He is just the most accurate passer in the NFL right now and probably the most accurate passer ever in the league. And, of course, Michael Thomas again, the man, I don't know how you can guard him. There is no way to stop this guy. Okay, yeah, I gotta admit the first touchdown that put them up 7-0. He actually dropped that pass. They missed it. They didn't have a camera angle on it that actually showed him not having the control of the ball and the ball being on the ground. but still, without that touchdown, even the Saints were dominating the game. The Bengals didn't have a chance there. I think one of the main guys that is overlooked in that game was actually the defensive tackle, Sheldon Rankins. He had a phenomenal game there. I think he had actually 2 sacks in the game, or at least a couple of pressures on Andy Dalton in the game. I think he was really overlooked in that game. He was just blasting through their offensive line in the middle. They had no chance against him. And the secondary actually showed up this week. They had an interception with Eli Apple in there. He's getting into the scheme of the Saints. I said it last week. It's going to take a couple of weeks to get used to the defense in New Orleans with Allen's scheme there. But he's looking good. It looks like the Saints actually have 2 cornerbacks on the field again, like they did last year with Marshawn Lattimore and Ken Crawley. This year it's Marshawn Lattimore and Eli Apple at the end of the season. Again, the only thing that is really a problem right now for the Saints is the slot cornerback position, where they give up a lot of yards. We're able to see that against John Ross, who was just outrunning everybody this week. But again, the run defense, the Saints are stopping everybody right now. Joe Mixon had no chance at all, and a lot of people were saying that he's one of the top 10 running backs in the league right now. But I think he was at a little bit over 70 yards for the whole game without a score. So if you can keep a guy like that to 70 yards, I think that's a win at every position in the defensive line. So Saints are looking really good at about every position right now, defensively, offensively. Of course, they have problems at wide receivers with a lot of injuries right now. And they signed Brandon Marshall this week. So he might actually get his first playoff game in his career in his 13th season in the NFL, which is really crazy. But I mean, yeah, the Saints. I mean, the injuries for the Saints aren't really that talked about that much at wide receivers. A lot of other teams, if they had the same amount of injuries at their wide receiver spot, I think they would struggle a lot. But I think because of Drew Brees being there and passing to the guys, you can't just put in. If you have seen Keith Kirkwood at the game against the Bengals, he had 2 catches with 2 targets. He was looking like he never did anything else than playing in the NFL. He looked like a second or third round draft pick, but he's an undrafted rookie that just was promoted up from the practice squad because Drew Brees is just throwing it right where he needs to throw the ball at. And that helps them out a lot. And I think a lot of other teams, like I said, would really struggle with it because if you have seen Aaron Rodgers without his wide receivers, when he only had, what was it in week 4 or 5, when about every starter with Adams, Kupp, and Geronimo Allison was out, and they had to start Equanimeous St. Brown, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and all the guys. There was only Valdes-Scantling that really shined out, and all the other guys couldn't get a ball in his hand, and Green Bay didn't look that good, but it's a different story with the Saints. But yeah, I think going forward, the Saints are looking pretty good. Of course, coming off that win helps them a lot. I don't know what's going to happen with Sean Payton if he gets a suspension for literally destroying that fire alarm in the stadium there before the game, but I don't think so. But yeah, that's it for the Saints.
Might just get a fine for that.
Yeah, I hope it's just a fine, but you never know in the NFL. He might actually get a suspension for it, but I don't think so.
Yeah, and 2 more things, Toby, before we move on to our next thing here with Marvin Lewis.
Yeah.
The Colts, back to the Colts again. I think the person, and Josh, I think you can attest to this, we do not give enough credit to way the Colts offense is going to Frank Reich. We do not give enough credit to this man for giving Andrew Luck a system that fits Andrew Luck. Being able to spread the ball around, to float it, to allow Andrew Luck to get the ball out quickly. And you saw in some of the plays, some of the four verticals with a seam route from one of the tight ends. You see some of the routes that some of these guys are running with the tight ends in the middle and cutting out. And then you see the running backs coming out of the backfield. You even saw a Andrew Luck sneak getting a first down and one of the first drives in the first quarter. It's like, when has Andrew Luck ever been able to do that? I mean, it seems really simple and it seems kind of stupid, but at the same time, it's like Frank Reich has given Andrew Luck the ability to be Andrew Luck. And I'm going to go back to my friend Luke again. Be sure to have it with some Tennessee Titans fans this week. I know you loved to mess with Tennessee Titans fans. I know a lot of them like to troll you and some of us Colts fans trying to talk a lot of smack about our team versus their team. But I think we ultimately have the best comeback for this week, and I definitely think the Colts are going to win it.
All right, Derek, you already talked about it, and of course, I already talked about the Cincinnati game this week. And a topic that a lot of people are talking about right now is, of course, Marvin Lewis. A lot of people were saying after the game that he should be fired, but actually, not 24 hours after the game, he actually got a second job as their defensive coordinator. What are your guys' thoughts? I don't know what to say about that, actually.
Well, I'll tell you this, Toby. I've been asking the same question for the last 5 years. Why has Marvin Lewis been sticking around so long? Now, I'm going to try to stay calm here because I don't want to bring out my inner Stephen A. Smith when it comes to Marvin Lewis. And it is funny because you mentioned that Hugh Jackson just got a gig with the Cincinnati coaching staff just after the defensive coordinator was fired for the game for the Saints. I'll just ask one question, and this is going to go straight to the owner and to the fan base. When is it enough? When's it enough? When is going to be the final straw for Cincinnati to finally say, we've had enough of the mediocrity, man. We've had enough of the nonsense. Every time you thought the Bengals were going to move out into the sunset, here come the Bengals once again. They show their true colors, man. They get inconsistent. They get disorganized. And I know that, a lot of the trouble has been there's been a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball for the Bengals this season. But ultimately, Andy Dalton has been inconsistent ever since week 4, and they're just not putting games together right now. I've been saying the same thing for 5 years. I don't know why Marvin Lewis keeps getting all these different all these excuses made out for him, why it's always another coach's fault, and then he gets a second chance. Why does it happen? I don't get it. I really don't. It's like, how many more times do you not have to win and not get to playoffs? 15 years without a playoff win. Most coaches would not survive half of that in the NFL without one. Why is it he gets to stick around so much? I'm calling to the Cincinnati fan base because I know a lot of you. It is time for you to stand up for your franchise and tell the owner that a Cincinnati Bengals franchise, if you don't want Marvin Lewis here, you don't want him. Ultimately, it comes down to you guys. And at some point, I think at some point, the Cincinnati Bengals will wise up and say, we've wasted so much time on you, Marvin Lewis. You're going to be gone. We're going to get a new coach, and hopefully he can take us into the promised land. It's just getting ridiculous.
All right. So the way I see it is that he's also being defensive coordinator while head coach. Is that correct?
Yeah, right now he has head coach and defensive coordinator duties.
I could see them start to slowly move him over to being defensive coordinator and hiring a new head coach it's just I know how mad people must be at, Marvin Lewis for not doing much, but I think if he does good on defense, they might just move him to defensive coordinator and hire a new head coach. I mean, it's nothing out of the ordinary, but I mean, that could be a possibility just to bridge him over to a new coaching position away from being head coach. Because again, Marvin Lewis has done barely anything. I mean, just this year alone, the Bengals finally beat the Colts at home in 12 years. And even if they made the playoffs, you can almost guarantee they're going to lose because they end up finding a way to blow it, or the other team just comes back and just maintains their lead.
Yeah.
The Bengals just cannot function with this head coach in Marvin Lewis. That's why either move to defensive coordinator or fire him at the end of the season. They need to.
Yeah, something needs to happen there. I agree.
Yeah, because if the Browns can make it this far with Hugh Jackson and finally say, all right, he's not doing anything, why haven't the Bengals done the same thing with Marvin Lewis? He's been there for 15 years, just standing there, just straight-faced, just not doing anything. You can tell when you look at him, you see no emotion on him, nothing at all. He just looks like he doesn't want to be there at all, and which is not helping the Bengals at all because, honestly, up until now, I've noticed that there's like a lack of discipline on both sides of the ball, which Marvin Lewis just looks like that one pair that's just like, yeah, they'll figure it out. And that's what's hurting the franchise. There's no initiative on the coaching staff. If you put a different coach on there, they will put all the players into shape and get them ready for a game. But Marvin Lewis just doesn't look like he wants to coach.
Yeah, that's
15 years, man, of an even record. Yeah. I know that sounds decent in today's NFL, but for 15 years, you haven't won a playoff game. Like, that's what keeps irking me, is that you get to playoffs, but you've never won. You can't tell it. It's just like any other employer. Your employer doesn't ask you to be average. Your employer hires you to be the best, to succeed, to make that franchise succeed over everyone else. Marvin Lewis hasn't done that, but yet somehow he still sticks around.
Yeah, and I feel like we're having this discussion about Marvin Lewis about every year that he is in Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. It's like it's coming up every year in the middle of the season. Should Marvin Lewis be fired? Everybody's saying, okay, fire him now. At the end of the season, he's gone. It feels like it's been going on since 15 years, since he's been the head coach in Cincinnati. But every year, somehow he still manages to stay the head coach of the Bengals. But I feel like the problem with him is right now that he has his defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, and he just lets them do all the work, and he's just, like Josh said, he doesn't really care. He's just standing around. He's just at the end, he's a cheerleader, basically. Not really doing anything. But I feel right now, if he has the duties of defensive coordinator, from which he actually came from before he became a head coach, he's always been a defensive guy. I think that he might actually get more of a grip of the team right now. The only problem I see right now for him is that a lot of key people, like Vontaze Burfict and all the other guys on defense, are hurt right now for the Bengals. So he doesn't really have a good personnel right there on defense right now, so that might hurt him. But I think actually for him being in a position that he can be the head coach and be in charge of the defense like other head coaches do, like Sean McVay with the offense and head coaching duties for LA. Sean Payton with the Saints is the same. He's calling the plays in New Orleans. But I think that actually it might help Marvin Lewis that he now has something to actually be in charge of with the team, and not just having the head coach duties and just let the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. I just think he's not the guy that can manage people or the coaches really well. So I think that he might be actually a pretty good coach, but he needs to be in charge of defensive duties in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that.
Yep.
All right, but that settles it with Cincinnati. And I've already talked now. I mentioned the LA Rams. And Well, they lost one of their biggest weapons last week to a torn ACL with Cooper Kupp. And, of course, they missed him for a couple of games already this season. And from what I've seen I think it was 2 games that they missed Cooper Kupp with the concussion, they didn't look like the same LA Rams like they do when they have Cooper Kupp, because he's their main target on third downs. I mean, they actually call it third and Cooper or third and Kupp. It's basically, if you are on a third down, Jared Goff is just going to throw it to Cooper Kupp. But I think it actually hurts the Rams a lot right now that they don't have Cooper Kupp, even when they have still Robert Woods and Brandon Cooks and Todd Gurley around. I think Cooper Kupp is the key piece to the offense right now. What do you guys think?
All right, I'll start this one off. I think what you're going to see without Cooper Kupp is there's going to be more rushing attempts with Todd Gurley. Because I want to just see if this is going to be true or not come Monday night. With Cooper Kupp gone, let's take a look at Goff and Gurley's stats. Let's see if Goff ends up throwing it for more than Gurley rushes, or Gurley rushes more than when Goff throws the ball for more yards. Because I think that's what's going to be a key point here, because he's another weapon for them to use. I mean, nothing to take away from Robert Woods, but he's just not the guy.
Yeah, and if you're comparing Robert Woods and you can't even talk Brandon Cooks, they're a totally different receiver than Cooper Kupp is.
Yeah. Cooper Kupp is essentially Rob Gronkowski for the LA Rams.
Yeah.
He's essentially their go-to. If they're in a problem, he's somehow open. So without him there, I mean, it's going to be Gurley rushing for more yards, and they're going to tire Gurley out because he's the only one that can actually gain the most yards from the line of scrimmage Cooper Kupp. So that's why I'm predicting that Gurley's going to rush more than what Goff throws for.
Yeah, but I think that, I mean, even we can see that the Rams are trying to run the ball more now with Cooper Kupp. So now defensive linemen can actually focus on getting to Todd Gurley and not having to rush Jared Goff that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I think in the end, I think it weakens the Rams a lot that Cooper Kupp is not there anymore.
Oh yeah, it definitely does weaken them.
All right, I'm gonna look at my camera right here. I'm gonna say this, and I hope I'm not wrong about this. I still gotta watch how the Rams adjust to having Cooper Kupp gone. It's a huge loss. It really is. I will just say this: the Rams' chances of winning the Super Bowl just went from about half to very slim. Yep. Very slim. Because Cooper Kupp is that big of an impact guy, because he is the Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski of the LA Rams. He's that guy that somehow just makes plays, and he's open whenever you can. Now, this is great for some of your fantasy owners out there, you know, those who own Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, and Todd Gurley, because like Josh said, Todd Gurley is going to get a lot more action as a result of this. Maybe not as much running, but more passing attempts. You know, they could do the fakes and the slip screens and the the running backs coming out and doing some of the fades. And Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods are obviously going to get targeted a lot more. But Cooper, like you guys said, Cooper Kupp is a different player of those two. Yeah. Brandon Cooks is that traditional slot guy and the guy that likes to run down the field and make plays with his feet. Robert Woods is more of your traditional catch and he's your possession guy. Yeah. He's the Reggie Wayne, I like to call it, because Reggie Wayne never made as many flashy plays as like a Marvin Harrison did, but when it came down to make a catch at the most pivotal point, he did. But Cooper Kupp is that guy, like Toby said, they have third down sets specifically designed for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. It's
very difficult to see the Rams now competing against teams in the playoffs without a wide receiver like Cooper Kupp. I'm not saying that, this isn't gonna hurt them that much in the regular season. They may lose a game or two because of this, but they're still going to win most of their games at the end of this season. They will most likely beat whoever they play in the first round of the playoffs. But I can promise you, when they go to face teams like the Saints at the end, that loss will come back to hurt them very much. And it will be much worse and much easier for the Saints now that, Cooper Kupp shredded them in the first meeting with each other. Now that that's not there, I'm interested actually to see how Sean McVay works this out. I mean, Sean McVay is a mastermind when it comes to offensive schemes. He's done a great job with Jared Goff so far. I really am interested to see what he can come up with, and I think he can create something pretty cool for Jared Goff to work around it. But ultimately, you guys are right. This is a huge loss. It will affect them later on in the season.
Yeah, and Derek, like you said, it's not going to affect them too much in the regular season. I totally got to agree with you there. Because actually, if they win against the Kansas City Chiefs at home this week, and I think Seattle has to lose against Green Bay, I think that's the only thing that's got to happen. Or I think Arizona has to lose as well, I think. But I think they actually clinched the division in Week 11 already. So they have already basically won their division. So they are already in the playoffs right now as we're in Week 11 this season. So it doesn't really affect them in the regular season. But like you said, the main weapon for them is going to be Todd Gurley going forwards. And you gotta play, if you're going to the NFC Championship game this year, you gotta play the Saints. And the Saints are currently the #1 run defense in the NFL right now. So they did a pretty good job last week or 2 weeks ago when they played against the LA Rams at home to keep Todd Gurley contained. So I think that's a major problem for them in the playoffs if they gotta play the Saints at some point.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But I think that sums up the Rams situation right now pretty well. But now moving on to the last segment of the day, our predictions. And we're starting off with an AFC North matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals against the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm going to give this one to the Ravens simply because they're coming off a bye week. They've had a week to prepare, 2 weeks to prepare for the Bengals. The Bengals, after a demoralizing loss at home against New Orleans, I think that the Ravens will have high hopes for this one in an effort to drown out the Bengals' noise. And I think they're looking to try and make a playoff push as well. Give me the Ravens this week.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I'll take the Ravens. I know it's going to be like a little bit of a struggle, but with Lamar Jackson starting now, they got to redesign the offense to kind of fit his scheme. He's more of a spread, where Flacco is more of a drop back and pass.
Yeah.
With the loss of A.J. Green for a while on the Bengals offensive side, I still think that dominant Baltimore's defense will be able to find a way to just shut down Joe Mixon and Andy Dalton, because other than now A.J. Green's gone, they only have John Ross, and he could easily be double covered relying on other people. I mean, you got Boyd, but he hasn't really done much. He's still up and coming. But again, after what Derek said with the demoralizing defeat from the Saints, I still think it's going to be the Ravens in the end.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I'm also with the Ravens in this one. I think Lamar Jackson is actually a pretty good quarterback, at least what you've seen from him in college. So, and I think the major part here is the Baltimore defense right now, and especially the pass rush that they can get on Andy Dalton in this game. And the offensive line, I've talked about Sheldon Rankins with the Saints in last week's game, that he had a pretty good game and that he could come through the interior line there pretty easily. And I think if you put in Terrell Suggs at linebacker there and get the pass rush in Baltimore going there, they could easily have a 4 or 5 sack game there for Terrell Suggs. So that will make life pretty horrible for Andy Dalton, I think. So I'm going with the Ravens.
All right.
Nice. We're all in agreement.
All right, the next game up, the hot Dallas Cowboys against the Atlanta Falcons.
You call it hot. I don't know if I necessarily call it hot, but I am actually I think most people have the Falcons winning this game. I am going to stick with the Dallas Cowboys this week. You heard it here first. Dallas Cowboys will pull the upset in Atlanta because I do believe the Cowboys might have just found an offensive scheme that allows Dak Prescott to have minimal to do with the offense and to get Amari Cooper involved with Zeke Elliott. And I do believe the Cowboys will be able to get pressure on Matt Ryan enough. I have the Cowboys upset over the Falcons this week.
Well, I mean, I would say the Falcons, but the Browns proved me otherwise for this week. So I'm going to Cowboys because Leighton Vander Esch is starting to prove that he can replace Sean Lee at a moment's notice. He's going to be the person that chases Sean Lee out of Dallas. I'm going to just say it right now. It's inevitable. But, I mean, you got Zeke, who if, Baker Mayfield can go almost perfect against this Falcons defense, I think Zeke and Dak Prescott will have a heyday against this front and then secondary with Amari Cooper, who might actually get his first 2-touchdown game of the season. So that's why I'm going to give it to the Cowboys.
Well, I'm going to go with Dallas as well. So,
really?
Yeah. Kind of surprising here. But, give me that Dallas offense right now against that depleted Atlanta defense right now. I think it's a pretty good matchup for Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, Zeke Elliott, Allen Hurns, Michael Gallup, and all the other guys who are still in there. They don't really have anybody hurt on offense right now in Dallas. So, I mean, against Atlanta, who really struggle with their injuries, especially in the secondary, give me Dallas here.
All right.
And next up, Tampa Bay against New York Giants.
This one was tough. I actually didn't mark it down as who my winner was until about 10 minutes ago because both of these teams have struggled this season, Buccaneers especially. The Giants did win last night. They've proven to me that they're able to work efficiently enough to win some of these games. The Giants are winning meaningless games at this point. In my opinion, I believe that they should just take the L's and then give themselves the best opportunity to get a good draft pick to be able to get a quarterback in this draft. But that doesn't seem to be the case right now. Give me the Giants this week at home after a good win against San Francisco and the Buccaneers struggling right now.
All right. I will have to – I know I picked the Giants to win yesterday, and I know they won probably because I picked them. But
so that means you should pick them again.
I mean, this is this is essentially like the Jets and the Bills from from Sunday. It's one of those ones where it's like either way you're picking a loser. So I'll have to just go with the Giants again.
There you go.
All right. Again, we're all picking the Giants again. I'm also going with the Giants. I mean, if you're putting up 500 yards and only score 3 points, how can you pick a team like that? You can't.
Exactly.
You cannot pick a team like that.
Especially against the Buccaneers, who have the worst rush defense in the league.
Yeah.
And Saquon Barkley will just shred them everywhere.
give me Saquon Barkley in that game. He's probably going for over 200 yards in that game total, passing and rushing.
Probably.
But yeah, Giants for me, especially at home. Probably cold weather game, not used to in Tampa Bay down there, so I think it's gonna be a Giants game.
Oh, yeah.
Next game up, a game that was pretty exciting last year. That's probably not gonna be as exciting this year between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an interesting one. I mean, we know Blake Bortles tore up the Indianapolis Colts defense, but then again, a lot of quarterbacks do that, and he almost always does that. I don't think he's going to tear up the Steelers' improved defense, even with the absence of James Conner. I still believe that Big Ben will find a way to incorporate some good offensive schemes in this game against the Jaguars. So give me the Steelers in this game.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers on this one because if they can score 52 points on the Carolina Panthers, I think they could easily roll over this Jacksonville Jaguars defense that I don't know what happened to them compared to last year, but I think just everybody caught on to their scheme and just know not to throw at Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, for me it's also Pittsburgh. Jacksonville isn't just showing anything right now, either on offense nor on defense. So, yeah, clear Pittsburgh, especially after that game that they had last year, as you said, Derek, against Carolina. Yeah, no other way to pick that game.
That was Josh.
Or Josh, yeah. Other side, yeah.
Pointing that direction.
Other side.
Yeah.
But yeah, next game, Houston Texans at Washington Redskins.
This one was a little bit of a tough one at first, but then I kind of dissected the Redskins game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, like Toby said earlier, the NFC South is just full of teams that are hot one week and they're cold the next. You don't know which Redskins team you're going to get.
The NFC East, you mean?
Oh, the NFC East. My apologies. Yeah, I was talking the wrong one there. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we don't know which NFC East Redskins we're going to get. Anyway, I'm picking the Texans this week.
I'm going to go the same way. As much as I don't like it because they're in the same division, they're just far superior to the Redskins right now. And they're just coming off a bye, too, so that means that they're all refreshed. So that's going to help in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, we did our top 5 teams last week, and I had the Texans actually at number 5 for me. I said it back then. They have a good offense right now. And Washington, I think they haven't put up anything more than 18 points this season so far. So Houston, for me, is the definite winner here with an offense like they have right now. I think they would probably put up anywhere near 30 points or even more on Washington, especially against the defense that they have right now. They don't look really good on defense. I don't know how Tampa Bay did it last week to only get 3 points, but for me, Houston is the definite winner here.
Yeah.
And now we're coming to your guys' games. AFC South, Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, Luke, you're going to enjoy what I'm about to say here, man. The Colts by at least 2 scores here. Okay, I know the Titans have been hot recently. I know that they beat the New England Patriots last week. I get that. But let's remember, the Tennessee Titans were at home, and they did a good job of scheming. I do not believe that they will be able to do the same thing against the Colts. They're a different team on the road than they are at home. And like I said before, they have not beaten the Colts as long as Andrew Luck has started. And as good as this offense has been for the Colts so far this season, and I think that the defense will shift a few things to make things a little better for themselves, give me the Colts this week.
Oh, yeah. I'm not just saying this because I'm a fan, too, but, yeah, give me the Colts in this one. Because there's no way that defense for the Tennessee Titans is going to touch Andrew Luck in any way, shape, or form. Only by breathing and saying, nice game at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has looked pretty good the last 2 games against Dallas and New England. But, I mean, Dallas was just finding the groove with Amari Cooper there, and Van Der Esch didn't really show up in that game at all. And last week, of course, the game against New England, I think it was a fluke just because their head coach, really, Verdament, or how you call him?
Mike Vrabel.
Vrabel, yeah.
Yeah, was the wrong guy, yeah. Sorry about that. But, yeah, he of course knows the scheme of Bill Belichick. He knows the New England Patriots. I think they played a major role in their win against New England last week. So I'm going to go with Indianapolis as well right now. They are just a good football team right now. And I think they should be the number 2 team in the AFC South and should get the second wild card for the AFC this season.
They will after this win, man. And don't forget, the Lions destroyed the Patriots early this season also. So
Yeah, it's always when you know the scheme of Bill Belichick, I think you always have a good chance of winning against him.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, next game up is actually the Detroit Lions at home against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I know Carolina had themselves a tough game against Pittsburgh, but man, Pittsburgh's on a level right now that not many teams are. I don't like what I'm seeing with the Lions right now. I know they made it interesting with Chicago, but Carolina's front seven again is still playing at a pretty good level right now. Carolina's still playing at a decent level. They're still looking to make a good playoff push. Give me the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, as much as I like the Lions and like to watch them on Sundays when the Browns aren't playing, I got to give this one to the Panthers, all because North Turner changed that offense around. I don't know if you guys have noticed this too, but Cam Newton does look a lot more confident standing back there, and he doesn't panic at all and wanting to. He actually takes time, looks, and if he doesn't see anybody, then he runs. But with McCaffrey playing at the way he is right now, and how Cam Newton's playing right now, I just got to give it to the Panthers.
Yeah, for me, it's the Panthers as well. I mean, the loss last week against Pittsburgh, it's not the fault of the Panthers at all. They didn't play bad. It was just they were overpowered by Pittsburgh right now. And Pittsburgh was just a better team. And Detroit, I'm not really that high on them. Yeah, they were in a tight battle against Chicago last week, but I mean, Detroit is not consistent at all right now. So I think it's a Panthers win there.
There we go.
Next up, we're going west. Denver against the LA Chargers.
Man, I mean, we're tied so far right now. We're all saying the same teams here. This game, I think, right here is going to be a very close matchup. If this was in Broncos country up in Denver, I would pick the Broncos for this game. But I'm going to go with the Chargers. They will struggle a little bit on offense this week because the Broncos, I think, will have a defensive scheme ready for them. It is a divisional game. But I do think the Chargers ultimately will pull it out in the end.
All right, I'm gonna say this right here, all because I know it's gonna happen. I have the Broncos winning this one because the Broncos have always had that one game where they just come out and play and dominate. I think this is gonna be that one right now. I think I'm gonna give this one to the Broncos.
All right.
Yeah, I'm on Derek's side here. I'm going with the Chargers. My main reason right now is last week, Phillip Rivers did not look good as a quarterback, and he has that one game, and usually the game after that, he comes back and looks like the top quarterback in the league. And I think that's what's happening this week. He's gonna come to LA, play against the Broncos, and he's gonna look like the greatest quarterback of all time. And so I think even with a great game plan on defense for the Broncos that they might have, I think they will be outplayed by Phillip Rivers this week. So LA Chargers with a win at home.
There we go.
There's your first break off.
And there it was.
Yeah. And yeah, we're staying west. And Josh, you already talked about Tampa Bay and the New York Giants being the Jets against the Bills this week. But I think this one is a little bit worse with the Oakland Raiders against the Arizona Cardinals.
And the Arizona Cardinals have nothing to do with that. It's all Oakland. That's the problem here. Give me the Cardinals in this game because the Raiders have been struggling again. I'll tell you this. The Cardinals have okay. My bad. Phone's ringing, man. Work never stops, apparently.
Hey, it's North Turner calling.
He didn't like what I said. All right. Yeah, give me the Cardinals. They put up a good fight against the Chiefs. I think David Johnson and Josh Rosen are finally starting to find somewhat of a groove. That defense for the Cardinals is starting to pick it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But with the Raiders, I'm not seeing it. Give me the Cardinals.
Yep, give me the Cardinals as well. I mean, Just the fact that the Raiders are the Raiders right now.
Yeah.
Give me the Colts.
Yeah, not a surprise there for me. The same. The Raiders don't have any playmakers. Derek Carr is really looking scared in the pocket right now. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if you have seen his throwaway on 4th down on Sunday.
Oh, I saw that.
It is. I don't know what that is. You're just giving up games right now. But yeah, as you guys have already said, the Arizona Cardinals are looking better and better every game. I think the change at offensive coordinator that they did in week 6, I think it was, or 5, really helped them out. And Josh Rosen is coming in there and finding a groove with DJ, and even Larry Fitzgerald is getting a couple of passes each game again. So for me, Arizona is the winner here.
All right.
And then we're coming to the Saints game with Philadelphia at home in the Dome.
There's no question about this one. Give me the Saints. I mean, the Eagles with a injury-ridden defense right now, one of their best defensive linemen out for the season, 2 secondary players out for the season. You can't expect me to believe that the Eagles will find a way to slow down the Saints if they can't slow down the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It is not going to happen. Saints all the way.
Do I have to say it again? Breeze, Peyton, Mercedes-Benz Superdome, win.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be another blowout. I think it's gonna be about the same as it was last week against Cincinnati. I don't see the offense for the Eagles being anywhere near being able to put up close to 30 points. I believe they're probably gonna put up about low 20s, mid 20s. But I think the Saints are just gonna put up about 50 again on that Eagles defense. So yeah, clear Saints win for me at home with Drew Brees right now. Easy pick. Next up, Minnesota at Chicago.
Man, this is probably the best game of the week, to be completely honest. Number 7 and number 8 in the power rankings and ESPN this week.
Yeah.
I am going to go with, I think people would probably say is the upset here. Give me Chicago, the Bears, against the Vikings. That Chicago defense is legit. We did not expect the Bills to beat the Vikings, but the Bills had a defensive plan ready, and Josh Allen can do it. I think Mitch Trubisky can too. Give me the Bears.
What was that about me putting the Bears at number 4 on my power rankings last time? I'm going to go with the Bears again because apparently I was correct in that they deserve to be at least higher up on defense for sure.
Yeah, they deserve to be higher up, but I think a game like Mitch Trubisky had last week against the Lions, it's his best game of the season right now, and I don't think that he can manage to do 2 games in a row like that. So I think it's gonna be a win for Minnesota.
All right,
I'm going with the Vikings here, just because I think that Mitch Trubisky is just not gonna be on the level that he was against the Detroit Lions, and I think that's just the notch not enough to beat Minnesota this week.
Definitely not enough.
And then on Monday Night Football, which should have been in Mexico City, but is now back again in LA because of the torn up field in the stadium in Mexico City, with the Kansas City Chiefs at the LA Rams.
Scratch what I said about the Bears and the Vikings. This is the best game of the week. I forgot that this one was there. But Josh, thank you again for picking the Bears this week. I appreciate you very much. Give me the Chiefs this week. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I don't know if the Rams will have a complete game plan ready with Cooper Kupp being out. I think that one was a demoralizing hit. I do believe that the Chiefs will find a way to put enough offense together to win this game. Give me the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs too, because what's the Rams going to do against the 3-headed offensive monster of Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Kareem Hunt? I mean, if you take care of one, you have 2 others that are wide open. So that's why I got to give this one to the Chiefs because they're going to outscore them more than what their defense is going to be able to hold back against the Rams.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs as well. Like we already talked about, the loss of Cooper Kupp is a huge loss for them. And with the defensive backfield that they have right now, and Josh, I think you like to hear that for your fantasy team right now. But give me Tyreek Hill in that game. I think he's gonna blow up in this game. I see no way that they can stop Tyreek Hill in this game. I'm gonna predict a huge game for Tyreek Hill. Over 200 yards for him, 2 touchdowns. Is my prediction for him.
You're filling up my fantasy right now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our predictions right now. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, the whole overview will be up at the end of the video. But for now, we're done for this week. Let's see how our predictions go and all the stuff we said about how this is going to play out. But thank you guys for listening, watching, whatever you're doing right now. We're available on a lot of different platforms for now. And Josh is already waving, Derek as well. We're going to say bye. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me here again this week.
Problem, Toby.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Follow on Spotify. Yeah. I hope we'll see you again next week. We're just going to say bye for now.
Hit that notification bell.